When I am down, at least I have my analog stick on my N64. No, I don't need Final Fantasy or Abe's World Odyssey, cause it's plain to see the N64 will give you all that and more. So Joe, how many months did it take you to realize the N64 is the premier system of all time?
Well, I mean, I just have to start off with, okay, the premier game for the N64 was Super Mario 64. One of the biggest
game, but there's several games.
The premier game.
Premier. Ocarina of Time, the greatest game of all time.
But
I mean, we could
debate
that all day.
At least they got off them shitty ass camera angles which they had in there.
Camera angles. That game was an innovator. It changed things. What did Final Fantasy VII do? It just had a fixed camera the whole game.
Bullshit.
And text communication. They didn't even have voice. They had voices in Super Mario 64.
They had like actual real cinema in Final Fantasy VII.
Cinema. I mean,
I mean, at least we kind of got a real.
I don't think it's cinema unless there's a camera recording it. It's like a fake cinema. But I mean, you got.
No, I'm just saying it gives you kind of a real feel.
I mean, yeah. Games like Final Fantasy VII and Metal Gear, they had a great movie. If you could ever get past the loading screen, it's like.
Well. I mean, at least it was something worth the wait.
Yeah, three CDs. Let's change one CD after the other. It's like they're falling out of your hand. You can't get nothing done. You can't get no house chores done. And I'm getting things done. I'm reading books and stuff. Well, I just put one cartridge in, and the whole time you're trying to keep up with 3 different CDs just to play one game. I mean, it's a force multiplier. You can't get nothing done when you're playing PlayStation. But I pop in a cartridge. Boom! I'm in Ocarina of Time. I am Link. What are you in the game?
I'm just saying, like, over time, it just seems like the PlayStation has much more longevity. And Nintendo is still milking the Mario train.
Well, what are they, Final Fantasy 15, hello, they're just milking either.
But that's a company on its own.
Snake's never going to stop snooping around, Solid Snake's going to be sneaking around forever, apparently. That's all they sell.
You're missing the point.
They sell the same ingredients over and over.
Metal Gear Solid is probably one of the best espionage games of our time.
Oh yeah, well I like platitudes too, but go ahead.
Platitudes.
I mean, it's a good game once you get past the fact that it's trying to act like a movie all the time. I mean, if I can actually play the game, when the movie ends,
Well, I mean, if you just want to dick around on cartoons and shit,
it's not cartoon. I mean, Mario's a classic. You're over there playing Abe's Odyssey and Crash Bandicoot.
Mario's a classic. It's a goddamn plumber jumping around. Like, what the fuck?
It doesn't need a story. It doesn't have to be a plumber.
I guess right, because ultimately
it could be a little man in a hang glider for all I care. But as long as the gameplay is still good.
Ultimately,
Abe's Odyssey. No one's talking about that, but everybody's talking about Mario. Super Mario.
They're still putting out Abe's Odyssey games.
Okay, well, let me ask you this: like, who did that guy, that great actor? I can't remember his name, but he played in a movie called Super Mario World. The Super Mario Brothers movie. But who played in the Crash Bandicoot or the Abe's Odyssey World movie? Nobody, because no one remembers them.
Who the fuck is referencing the Super Mario Brothers?
Nobody made a movie about Abe's Odyssey or Crash Bandicoot.
I'm just saying, like.
But they had John Leguizamo in a Super Mario movie. You understand what I was trying to say?
John Leguizamo.
John Leguizamo, and they had the other guy with the mustache playing Mario.
Do you remember?
Who played Abe's Odyssey? Nobody, because nobody cares. Nobody gives 2 shits.
Look, the Final Fantasy franchise, first of all, has put out several movies. Like Final Fantasy.
One thing after another. It's just like McDonald's. It's just like the same thing. You just unwrap it, and there's the fries, and there's the hamburger. It's just the same thing over and over, And I'm sorry if that enrages you, but you just have to deal with it in your own way.
I'm so pissed.
One company, Nintendo is like Apple, and Sega is like, Sony is like Microsoft.
So are you like? Hold on, let me stop you for a second.
Go ahead.
It just seems like you're trying to love everybody else. It's almost like Nintendo's some kind of empire.
N64 had an analog stick. What did PlayStation have?
You didn't need an analog stick.
It had like we had a rumble pack. We had Bob Hoskins. He was starring in the Super Mario Brothers movie.
I understand.
Who starred in the Crash Bandicoot movie? Jack shit starred in the Crash Bandicoot. because goddamn motherfucker didn't exist on this planet and never will. Because no one cares about that. And we had Clay Fighter. What kind of fighter did y'all have? Y'all had Thrill Kill. It didn't even goddamn come out. You know, it's just like Thrill Kill didn't even come out. You had Tekken. What's Tekken? I mean, Tekken is like you gotta hit 10 different buttons just to throw a damn punch. You know, it's like.
I'm just saying, but Tekken at least, you know, you could cut off arms and shit like that.
I mean, that's great. I mean, we had graphics too, so your argument kind of falls flat there. On
you had triangles and circles.
What did you have? I had Mario Kart. What was your kart game? Your kart game. You didn't have a kart game because you were too busy getting lost in the Golden Corral in Final Fantasy VII.
We had for many of the race car.
Race car game. Are you want to say Gran Turismo?
I was going to say Need for Speed, actually.
We got that on the PC. I can load that up on PC. It's PlayStation Extinct.
Okay, but then you're ultimately escaping the argument for Nintendo 64.
I can't load any of my N64 games on the computer or Mario. I can't play Mario on the computer or my cell phone. I can play Sonic. I can play Sonic. Yeah, I mean that's illegal though. I'm talking about doing it a way a man does it. You know, we buy the thing, we buy it, and we play it the hardcore. We pay the people that make stuff. You know, as a customer. You know, and anyway, I'm gonna get to my point here. Is that you know my mom one day I was at McDonald's. You know, this is hard sort for me to talk about. Okay. And, you know, my mom, she sat me down and I went to the playground, played around, was eating a hamburger. I was feeling real good, you know. I was feeling great in my heart, in my soul. You know, I'm sorry, I'm breaking up here a little bit. And I was sitting in the station wagon and she said, David, you know, you feeling good, really? You know, you feeling real good? And I was like, yeah. And she looked at me straight in the eyes and said, you know, me and your dad are getting a divorce. We're getting a divorce and the marriage is... The marriage is over. You know, she said the marriage is over, lock, stock, and barrel. It's out the window.
Yes.
It's over. Okay. So as you can imagine, that hamburger, my appetite died, and I spit the hamburger out. And she said, "You need to let a little cry out. You need a little cry out." You know. And so she drove down the highway, rolled down the window, and I just cried. You know. And I stuck my head out the window like a little dog, and tears shooting out in the air. And, you know, what I did when I went home was we had an N64 and we had a PlayStation, okay?
Yes.
Now, I needed some comfort, you know. I needed some comfort, all right? And so I started up my N64 and I was playing the game, okay? And then later on, you know, I needed an emotional comfort. I started up a PlayStation and there's a goddamn loading screen. It didn't give me no comfort. But on the N64, I had Mario doing his triple jump. But on there, I played this game Xenogears, and it was like a 10-minute loading screen just to have a guy sitting in a chair talking about some story of the game. He don't even talk about the game. Do you know anything about Xenogears? It's like the third disc, they just quit making the goddamn game. Nintendo would never do that shit to me. They would never stop making a Mario. But with Xenogears, they spent the whole third disc, just sitting there in a chair talking about the game. I mean, that's... You know, I mean, I ain't got nothing against the Japanese, but they need to quit with that stuff. You know, it's not artistic, and it's not true.
Well, I think first of all, you have to understand that Nintendo is also a Japanese company.
It takes 5 CDs to play Final Fantasy VII. 5 CDs. It takes one cartridge to play Ocarina of Time.
It's only 3.
You know, one cartridge to play Ocarina of Time. But I mean,
it's half the game.
Can you time travel in Final Fantasy VII?
No, you don't need to. Can you stop a comet?
It'd be fun.
In the Ocarina of Time?
You don't need to stop a comet.
I'm just saying.
You know, it's like, but I mean, what's more fun, stopping a comet?
You get all these medallions and you build a rainbow bridge.
Guess what? In the real world, I don't have to stop a comet. I just look at it and watch it go by. But I can't time travel in the real world.
Based on what? Based on what?
How many horses did Cloud Strife ride in Final Fantasy VII? 0. Hello. Hello. Bam. But Link. He could ride a horse all over them dang hills, you know. But it's like, okay, you know, that day that I played N64 and PlayStation, the loading screen took me so long that I didn't even get time to talk about my mom's divorce, you know. I didn't get time to talk about the divorce of my mom because of the loading screen on the PlayStation. But, you know, and then when the loading screen came up, there's goddamn chocobos everywhere. Okay, but listen. Listen, I mean, you know, it's funny to you, but it's a sad, tragic story.
No, let me stop you there.
No, listen, I got to finish the story because my mom got butt fucked by this guy, and like if I had talked to her and got her back with my dad, but instead the chocobos were messing up the loading screen. You know, it was like 20 years in the making. But I'm just saying, You know, I mean, you can laugh at my tragedy. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
We got cartridges over here in my army. Your army has like 500 CDs weighing down the trunk of your car. It's the difference between sitting and peeing. It's peeing, standing up, and sitting and peeing.
No, because to me, Final Fantasy gives you pure imagination. You're able to summon creatures that are so...
Well, I think it's got a lot of imagination when you're playing an ocarina and you go backwards in time. I mean, I can't do that.
Well, you actually don't go backwards in time by playing.
Well, not technically. I mean, you don't.
You pull the fucking sword.
You don't.
Stone.
There's lots of swords.
It's not original.
At least we pulled a sword, but I mean, you start out with a sword in Final Fantasy VII. You don't even get to pull it. It's already on Cloud Stripe's
shoulder.
shoulder.
The motherfucker was badass already.
I mean,
like, where did Link learn to wield a sword?
But he replaces the Buster Sword with something else.
Some bum gives him a goddamn.
There's no poor people in Ocarina of Time, but you know there are some bad words in Final. There's no bad things in Ocarina of Time. There's no poor people and mean things. But
there's no people.
In Final Fantasy VII, you got the word damn and hell, and Barrett's cussing at little kids. And you know, how many divorces have been started from Final Fantasy VII? You know, you tell me that right now. You know, how many marriages have been broken up because the kids learn bad words while they're, instead of like listening to their dads and reading books. You know what I mean?
I'm just like,
how can you even argue around that point?
I don't even know that it's a real point that it could be made.
It is a real point. I mean, Final Fantasy VII, it got kids interested in all kind of weird stuff like manga and anime and Akira, that manga anime. And like, they're watching Akira and they're watching all these things that are making them think crazy stuff, and then they end up filling a bowl full of like crystals and cocaine, and they're shooting it up, and they think they're a goddamn elf. They think they're an elf or something when they're really just there in the room. They're just a person. And so while people are getting fucked up on drugs and you're getting fucked in the ass without a condom, I was playing Super Mario. I was playing Zelda, I was having a wholesome life. My cartoon characters protected me in my development. And then, somebody goes and plays like, I mean, shit. I would throw my PlayStation out the window just because of a goddamn Independence Day game. That game was terrible. I had to go into KB Toy Store and I had to ask somebody, how do I play this? Because I can't fucking play it. The movie was better, and the movie's awful. I mean, it's like,
fair enough.
Bill Paxton in the movie, Randy Quaid or whoever. I mean, I don't even like that movie anymore. I mean, go ahead. I mean, I'm just kind of.
No, I know.
I'm a little angry. I'm a little distressed.
I guess so.
It cost my mom's marriage, PlayStation. I mean,
No, it just sounds like to me that you associate the Nintendo 64, like, as far as comfort, it's the same thing as junk food to you.
Well, I mean, what is the PlayStation to you? Is it like a filet mignon? Is it filling you like a vegetable?
I mean, it was pretty revolutionary.
Bill Paxton has no sense of taste. Bill Paxton has no sense of taste. And Independence Day is awful, and yet Independence Day is on the PlayStation. But we got Super Mario. I mean, do you have a Banjo-Kazooie game? No, but you have Abe's Odyssey.
Okay,
literally no sense of taste. I'm not like saying like in some kind of fantasy land or some kind of joke or metaphor. I mean, look, this is this. This is real. That's real. But what's not real is a loading screen. But you know what is real? I can slap a cartridge in, a gold Ocarina cartridge in, and I can play the best game of all time, Ocarina of Time. And I can ride a horse. What does Cloud do? He just goes from one little marionette, marquee little show. I mean, it's like playing a flash game on the internet. Like a little slideshow game. There's no real control in the game. You just run around. And the only good thing that ever happens in Final Fantasy VII is you find out that Red 13's name is Maneki. That's it. That's all you found out. You just find out his name, and he howls at the moon, and the screen goes blank. At the end, and then like, there's.
You've started.
Yeah.
And they'll have the old kitchen out and the new one in, and you won't feel a thing. And I know about pain. I'm a doctor. Is it okay about tonight?
Oh, well, I'm a little nervous, but it'll be fine.
Why are you nervous?
Gee, I don't know. I'm usually so comfortable speaking in front of 200 people.
You don't have to speak. I'll speak. You just stand by my side and look gorgeous.
No, I have to speak. But wait. Are we talking about the same thing here, Jack? The parents' meeting? Oh, no, Jack. Don't tell me you forgot again. And then you wonder why the kids call me Miss McGee. Oh, you're a total disaster.
Well, I need you tonight as well. Hey.
I have to change. can have dinner together somewhere later. And you'll still forget next year, won't you? Yeah.
Hola, Lucy, ¿cómo estás?
Bad.